episode of Entrepreneur Chat, easy for me to say, on Radio Ramadan. I'm Manny Malik, and this is the show where we dive into the journey of business owners, innovators, and hustlers from our community, getting the inside scoop on what it takes to build and sustain a successful business. We'll explore the highs, the lows, the challenges, and the triumphs of entrepreneurship. I said it right that time. Sharing valuable insights and inspiration for anyone looking to start or grow their own venture. Tonight, I'm excited to be joined by a special guest and a dear friend, someone who's made a massive impact on the food scene here in Wolverhampton and beyond, especially for lovers of Japanese cuisine. He's the founder of ISO Sushi, a brand that has brought high quality, halal-friendly sushi and Japanese-inspired dishes to our community. ISO Sushi has built a reputation for fresh ingredients, bold flavors, and innovative menu items. But behind every successful business is a story, a journey of ambition, hard work, and dedication. So before we kick off, I've got Yusuf Ahmed. Assalamu alaikum, Yusuf. How are you?
Assalamu alaikum. Alhamdulillah, good, thank you.
Alhamdulillah. How has Ramadan been for you so far?
You know what, it's just a start, and it takes a few days just to get comfortable, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you feel it quite a bit at the beginning. Like the first couple of days, like even today, around 3:30ish, I normally start getting a bit of a migraine. And
what do you do? What's your normal routine like? Do you stay up after Fajr? Do you go back to sleep?
No, I try to get a quick couple of hours in after Fajr.
Yeah.
But I stay quite regimented. It's like, I call it like the prison routine for the month of Ramadan. Even what I eat, I keep it the same.
You haven't been to prison though, have you?
No, never.
Okay, fine.
Alhamdulillah.
Just clarify that.
Yeah. But you know how you get the same, you have the same breakfast, same whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, after Fajr, a couple of hours, depending. Like today I got up about 8:30.
Yeah.
But then yesterday I was up at 10:30.
Okay.
So it varies, innit?
We'll see. I think with Ramadan and with fasting, what I've learned is it takes your body around 7 days for it to get into a scheduled routine, and then you start to get used to it. But okay, let's get into some of the stuff that we wanted to talk about today. So obviously, we've talked in the intro about ISO Sushi. So I want you to tell the listeners a little bit more about ISO Sushi today. What kind of stuff do you sell? How many locations have you got? Give us a bit of an overview.
So obviously it's a Japanese cuisine, which for people who don't know is like sushi and wok items and things like that. Katsu is a big one. Our most popular dish is the katsu. Everybody knows it from Wagamamas.
Yeah.
But obviously, the Muslim listeners, we can't have it from Wagamamas.
Do they not have any halal stores yet, Wagamamas? Is it?
Nah, they don't, you know. No
They're missing
halal
a trick,
stores.
aren't they? Okay, but that's
They're
good for
missing a
you,
trick,
right?
but that's why we're there, you know. But yeah, we've got 6 stores at the moment, alhamdulillah.
Mashallah.
Located within the Midlands, and then a couple going up north towards Stoke and then Preston.
Tell me exactly where they are. So you've got Wolverhampton.
So
Where's
we've got
that?
Wolverhampton on Chapel Ash.
Yep.
It's been there for about 10 years or so now. We've got Walsall and Bridge Street in town.
Yep.
We've got Stourbridge, which is on Dudley Road. We've got Birmingham, which is the Dark Kitchen, which is quite central. And then we've got Stoke, which is in the town centre again, Trinity Street. And we've got Preston, which is just on the outskirts in Lostock Hall. The area is called Lostock Hall.
Mashallah, and that's the newest one, the one
That's
that
the
you've opened up in
latest
Preston.
one. Yeah.
Okay, we'll dive into the expansion and what you've done so far. But talk to me about how you ended up in the restaurant industry. You know, how did this come about? Why Japanese food?
So, you know, it was around 11 years ago. So I've been in Wolverhampton now about 14 years.
Yeah.
So about 11 years ago, me and my brother, we used to go to Bullring quite often. Okay. And he was a lover of Yo Sushi all the time.
Yeah.
Yo Sushi. Again, obviously, there's only certain items that we can have. So from there, he was speaking to one of the general managers there, and he was like, you know what, I want to open up my own place and start something, because as you can still see to this day, there's no real chain of Japanese restaurants that are halal,
No.
you know, and it's quite difficult. In reality, people don't realize how difficult it is to be halal
Yes.
in the Japanese market,
Yes.
because there's a lot of ingredients that people don't know that goes into different items.
Okay.
And a lot of them can contain alcohol, so it's hard to source as well. But yeah, so that's how it started. About 10, 11 years ago, we actually started down in London first.
Really?
Yeah. So our first store was in Isleworth, or Isleworth, however you say it, near Heathrow.
Yeah.
and then we expanded into Twickenham to Putney, quite a few locations down in London.
And they were called ISO Sushi at the time as
They
well?
were called ISO Sushi at the time, but at that time, it was owned by my brother and another gentleman, and I just used to manage it from a distance, whatever my brother asked me to manage. Because I was only young then, about 20, I was about 21, 20-ish.
Okay.
Yeah,
Was that 10 years ago?
Getting on a bit
You
now.
sure?
I'm 33 this week.
Okay.
So that's how it started. And as it went on, I took over a bit later. Well, how would I say? I started giving it more time,
Yes.
probably about 4 or 5 years after that, maybe 3 to 4 years after that. And then fully took over it about 4 years ago.
Okay, and how did that come about? So your brother, you launched it together. Did he say to you, look, buy out my shares? What was the deal? that
Yeah,
you
so
came to?
about four years ago or so, he asked me, he goes, look, you want to take over completely?
Mhm.
Buy me out. The other gentleman was gone long before that. He only lasted the first couple of years. So I was sat there and I was thinking, don't I? What do I do? And I spoke to one of my close friends who is the owner of Little Dessert Shop,
Okay.
right? And I said to him, I said, look, what do I do? Right? At the moment, I'm working for my brother. I get a good income, just chilling. I'm still running all the stores, by
Yeah.
the way, from head to toe, completely. And I thought, he goes to me, he goes, you know what, just go for it. Jump
Yeah.
into it. Doesn't matter what numbers it's doing, doesn't matter if it's quiet or whatever, just jump into it. And when it's yours, you'll see the difference.
Did you have any other opportunities at the time that you were considering? Or was it just a case of, look, this is the only thing that... Or were you potentially looking elsewhere, maybe studying, maybe other businesses, other industries?
No, so, obviously I was probably about 27, 28 at the time. Studying was long gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a college dropout. So studying was never something that I was interested in. Even growing up, I did all right in my GCSEs,
Okay.
I don't know what they call them now. They call it GCEs or something.
I think they're still called GCSEs, but
They don't, man.
I don't know.
Anyway,
Maybe.
but I moved on, and like in terms of studying, it was never my thing. But at the time, I was working for my brother, obviously, and I could have either just carried on working for him, or this opportunity. That was the only opportunity that was there,
Okay.
to be honest. And it was one of them where, like if you're getting paid regularly on a monthly basis, and you've got mortgages, and you've got bills, and you've got family, and blah de blah. You have to remember that once you jump into a business,
Yep.
someone else, being you yourself, has to cover all them things, and you're not a guaranteed income every month. So that was where I was a bit like, it was a bit of fear, because obviously missus don't work, kids were still young, but then eventually I thought, you know what, just go for it.
Yeah.
you
And
know.
in terms of being a business owner, was that something that you'd always dreamed of growing up? You mentioned, look, you weren't really too interested in studying. Did you
Yeah.
always envisage yourself as being an entrepreneur and a business owner?
I think so, yeah, in the sense that it runs in my blood. My dad was a business owner. My brothers, my eldest brother started a business when he was young. My other brother, who's Wolverhampton based, he did business all his life. So it's always been within us to do business. So I always thought, yeah, one day I'll be heading down the same path.
And it's in the Gujarati blood as well, isn't it?
Good
so,
too, yeah.
Yeah, so you guys are very good at opening up businesses, food businesses. Do you think that plays a part in it? Do you think your sort of culture and...
I think definitely, yeah, culture does play a massive part. And then upbringing plays a big part in it as well, obviously.
And talk to me about
Um,
that. So upbringing, you mentioned obviously about school. Let's rewind back to primary school days. I think madrasa days as well.
Yeah.
So what were you like as a young kid?
So from what I've been you know what, my memory as a kid is poor, very poor. Like I always say to my missus, I only remember what's important.
Yeah.
But anyway, I do remember bits and bobs. As a kid, always messed about.
Really?
Yeah. I was told that as a kid I was a really troublesome. Like I was a pain in everybody's backside. Like
Were you naughty? Did you do
naughty
bad
as in-
things?
No, not bad things, but like I was like annoying. And I
So
used
nothing's
to talk
changed then?
back. Yeah, I used to talk back all the time. Always get my way. But yeah, primary school. I remember where I come from in Bolton, there was 2 primary schools local. There was a primary school called, what was it called now? There's Branwood, which is the one that I went to, and Sunninghill, which was 98% Muslim.
Wow.
Yeah. And my dad goes like, nah, That was like 30 seconds walk, by the way. He goes, now you're going Brandwood, right? Which not many Asians were there. But anyway, I went to Brandwood, which was about 10, 15-minute walk. And then I remember because I was such a I was naughty, you know what I mean by mischievous, that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. So when it came to madrasa, obviously madrasa started young, as you do, especially in the Gujarati community. Normally starts about age 4 every day. Started Hifz class at about the age 9.
Okay.
So morning routines from primary school, year 5, year 4, waking up at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, starting to read before you go to school, and coming back, reading, then going to madrasa, obviously.
So you mentioned earlier on, you called it prison routine, but I don't think it's quite that then, isn't it? Do you not think that that madrasa routine, that Hifz routine was crucial in implementing this lifestyle that you've got where you are quite regimented, where you do the same things every day?
I'd like to say so, potentially, obviously, especially with the waking up. Like, I always wake up early, always go to the gym early, blah, blah, blah. And I think that does come from the early days of childhood where trying to learn the Quran by heart and knowing the pressures of it. So you have to get up early and your mind's fresh and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think it is regimented into there from early days. But like I was saying, we moved on to secondary school. I remember I wanted to go to a normal secondary school, but obviously all my siblings are quite older than me,
Are you the youngest?
I'm the youngest, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So my eldest sibling is 47.
Wow. Mashallah.
So there's a big gap. And I remember when I wanted to go to secondary school, I wanted to go to the one all my mates are going to. And my eldest brother goes to my dad, he goes, nah, no chance.
Okay.
He ain't going to that school. So I went to a different school altogether, different secondary school, which alhamdulillah, all right in my GCSEs. What did I get now? I got 1A, 5B, 6 Cs, A in maths. And you know that
Mashallah.
I like my
He's
numbers.
good with his numbers, yeah.
And then I wanted to do chemistry, biology, maths
Okay,
in
wow.
college.
Did you want to do that, or did
I
your parents
wanted-
tell you had to do
No.
that?
I wanted to do that. So I remember I got into a college called Pendleton College, one of the top in the Northwest. And then I went home, I was there happy, telling my dad, I got into this Pendleton College. He looked at me and he goes, you ain't going to college. I was like, what? Because at the time, I think I must have been about 24th or 25th Sipara.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but you're thinking now, he started when he was 9, 10. He's 16. How is he still on the 24th, 25th Sipara? Because obviously,
Still slugging away.
yeah. I went to 3 different masjids.
Okay.
Yeah, got kicked out of 2 for just messing about, really. So my dad goes, you know what? You got to go to full-time Islamic studies
Okay.
and finish off your Hifz. So you're taking a year gap.
Okay. And so you're what, 16 at this
16 at
years
this time.
old,
I'm about
yeah?
16 at this time. When you finish GCSEs, isn't it?
And how did you respond to your dad laying down that challenge? And that
Whatever
gauntlet for
dad
you?
says, dad, you do. there was no response to it. There was no reply to it. It was just like, okay, that's what you want. That's what you want.
And so that's what you did.
That's what I did. Yeah, I took a gap year, finished my Hifz, and then at the end of the gap year, I was like, okay, go back to college now. So I went to. Obviously I couldn't go to the same college. I went to a different college, and this is a funny story actually. But like if you take a gap year after GCSEs, and you're doing chemistry, biology, and maths,
It was all
that's
gone
like the
out your
hardest
system.
subjects.
Yeah.
Baffled. Yeah, sat there second day, and I was like, you know what? I need to get out of this.
Really? Was
I
that
can't
soon
do-
after
yeah,
you
I
started
can't
again?
do this. Yeah, I can't do this. So I thought, my dad's obviously, alhamdulillah, he's very pious, very religious, very by the book. So I was like, what can I say? I went home and I go to my dad. I goes, Dad, there's too much fitna in this college. And he was like, look, if that's what you think, then okay, no problem, don't go.
Really, you were just struggling with
I was struggling with the subject. So then I thought, from there I started working. And to be fair, I've been a grafter from day. So even when I used to go to, just when I finished secondary school, I used to go to Darloom Islamic school. I used to work on the weekends at DFS, plumping cushions, making tea.
Really?
Yeah. And then after DFS, I started working in a post office.
So you've
Back
always
to
had
back.
that
Yeah,
sense
yeah,
of
yeah.
earning money as being quite important to you. You understood the
100%.
value of hard work and what that equates to, right?
Yeah. And then obviously, as you don't go to college and you're just working, you start chilling a bit. You start hanging around with the wrong crowds and blah blah blah. And then what happened was I was about 17, 18, worked throughout 16, 17, 18. And then at 18, I thought to myself, you know what? I need a change. I need to hang around with better people. I need to make a difference. So I called up my brother who was living in Wolverhampton at the time, and I was living in Bolton. And I said, look, you know what? I need to come to Wolverhampton. You do business.
Yeah.
Yeah. I need to come for a few months, understand how you do things, and get away from, this kind of lifestyle or whatever. So I came to Wolverhampton at age 18.
Okay.
Left home per se, and 3 months I was supposed to be here is now 14 years on.
Still here. We can't get rid of you.
Can't get rid of me now. Even someone asked me, they goes, oh, would you ever go back to Bolton depending on how successful you become and blah de blah. I said, you know what, I don't think I ever would, unless like my parents required me.
Yeah.
Then I would make that move. But generally Wolverhampton is now home.
You've built your life here now, haven't you?
Yeah, Wolverhampton is home.
Okay, and now talk to me. You mentioned your brother a couple of times. Sounds like he was a big influence on your life. Obviously, I know him as well, and I'm sure other people within Wolverhampton will know him. Tell me a little bit more about how big an influence he's been in the direction of, your life, your business acumen. What would you attribute down to him as being someone that you've learned from?
I think, I'd give him a hefty chunk
Yeah.
of the reason why I am where I am. And that's because from a young age, he always, obviously I lived with him when I was 18 for, I can't remember, 6 months to but he always threw me into the deep end.
Mm-hmm.
So he owned a couple of different businesses, and he'd always be like, okay, you got to do X, Y, and Z. Just roll with it.
Yeah.
Which is my tagline now, by the way. Just roll with
It's
it.
the ISO tagline.
Yeah,
isn't
it's the
it?
ISO tagline.
Okay,
now.
so was that purposely from one of the comments
I
that
think
he used to make?
it's a mixture of both. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. But he just like I managed a clinic for a few years with 5-6 members of staff, and again I was only young, 19, 20, so I had to learn on the job.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, he'd send me these long to-do lists on a daily basis. I used to hate them, but now I understand them.
I see your to-do list as well. You do that. You
Yeah,
implement that, don't you?
yeah,
as
yeah.
well?
Even though I used to hate when he used to send them to me, now I make my own and I give them out to other people as well. So I did learn quite a lot, and it made a big difference. And also, I saw him take so many risks.
Okay.
Business is about taking risks. If you have fear, you can't get anywhere in business.
Yeah.
And that's the main thing that he taught me.
Okay, so taking risks, going, whatever opportunity comes your way, because it sounds like you've done that each and every time where you've just sort of thrown yourself in the deep end. How important is that, do you think, in terms of someone that's listening now and they've got an option whether to play it safe or to take the risk? What would you say? How would you evaluate?
You know what I say is that if you're not a great swimmer and someone throws you into the deep end, no matter what, you're going to make it out of that deep end because you got no choice.
Yeah.
You have to make it out. And I think that's the same in business. When you get thrown into the deep end, you got no choice but to make it out. There's no such thing as it not being busy enough, or
Yes.
you're not making enough money, or something is not right. You have to work it out. Whatever way, some way or another, you have to make it happen. Do you know what I mean? So being in the deep end is probably the best thing.
Okay, so let's fast forward to the point where you've now been thrown into the deep end. You've taken over ISO Sushi. What's the first immediate change that you introduced to the business to market with your own stamp?
I think the first initial thing was being more in the business.
Okay.
At the time, when I one in Isleworth, which had become a franchise at the time, and one in Wolverhampton. Work day in, day out.
So you'd be in the kitchen.
Whether I'm in the kitchen or I'm on the front of house, whether I'm doing driving, just to fully understand every aspect of the business from top to bottom. And to be fair, luckily when I took over, it was COVID.
Yeah.
So it was the start of ETAT to help out, which alhamdulillah, look, God is the best of planners,
Of course.
you know. So we started off at a very busy period.
Yeah.
You know, the ETAT to help out thing was crazy. Everybody was going out to eat. It's 50% off and all that kind of stuff. So,
Yes.
but the main thing that I looked into was obviously understanding every aspect of the business.
Yeah.
And then what I wanted to do was, it was very traditional at the time.
Okay.
As in, all the flavors, all the items were very traditional. Now, what I saw at the beginning was that a lot of my friends or the youth, they weren't really too interested or too keen in the food. Unless you knew Japanese food, you wasn't really too like, you didn't really fancy it.
Yes.
So what I thought to myself at that time was, I need to make it more relevant to the younger generation, because it's the younger generation that spend the most amount of money on food.
Yes.
So that's where slowly, that's where we've progressed into. Meaning, like for example, we got the katsu.
Yep.
Yeah, and traditionally it's always katsu rice. That's normal. You see that everywhere. So obviously we introduced like katsu noodles, and then we've tried the loaded katsu, which is like with the fries and the cheese and the sauces, which everybody loves.
Yep.
And then we've got the katsu in a burger. Yeah, so just trying these different gimmicks, which later on now we've obviously introduced wagyu and we've introduced bao buns and all these other things.
Okay, and just a question on that as well. So you mentioned halal, Japanese. Sometimes for a lot of people and a lot of listeners, they may say, well, we've never heard those things in the same sentence before. What's the typical demographic that you've targeted? Have you had challenges with getting Muslim community on board to try this food? Because I'm one of those people like your brother, loved sushi from an early age, always been quite adventurous. But I know that there's a lot of people who, turn their nose up and say, we'd never eat that kind of stuff. How have you challenged that? What do you see in terms of the demographic of the customers that you've got? How's that translating into sales for you now?
I think with your starting point in regards to the halal Japanese, I think the reason why you don't get halal Japanese that often is because a lot of the ingredients that the Japanese use contains alcohol.
Okay, yeah.
Many of them. So we had to jump through quite a lot of hurdles to make sure that nothing, like even when you go to a lot of people go out to eat, they'll eat somewhere, they'll be like, oh, I'm going to have sushi, but I'll have the vegetarian option.
Yes.
Vegetarian option doesn't mean that it's halal.
Okay.
Because they normally mix the rice in mirin, which is a type of alcohol-based substance.
Okay.
So that obviously makes it non-halal anymore. But anyway, moving on from there. So your question was, what was it again? Sorry, I forgot.
So moving on to the demographic.
The
now that you
demographic,
see,
yeah. So in regards to demographic, I always started by pushing towards. I didn't really focus on Muslims.
Okay.
The reason being was that they weren't that very interested in it at the time, and also the population of Muslims is very small.
Okay.
Yeah, so I believe we are 5% of the country.
I think 7%.
7%.
Yeah.
So for me, I always thought, from a business perspective, it's better to focus on percent instead of just keeping it down to the 7%, which a lot of businesses do nowadays.
Yes.
Because I thought that's the best way in terms of expansion.
Yes.
If you want to expand, you got to be able to focus on the whole market, not just a section of the market. Now, alhamdulillah, we're getting more and more Muslim people on board. I think people are coming towards the Japanese food. We do see more and more people entering our doors, and I always look across the Uber platforms and things like that, and you see Muhammad or Ahmad.
Yeah.
So there's a lot more people coming towards it.
And I think that makes sense. You've made an absolutely valuable point there in terms of when you are looking to expand, you need to cater for a lot of people, but at the same time, be able to be inclusive as well. So, no, that's been really useful. We're going to be going over to a short break now. When we come back, we'll be speaking more about Yusuf, your influences, but also a little bit about what Ramadan means to you. So we'll speak to you very shortly, inshallah.
No worries, inshallah.
Eurofit Auto Centres, the leading MOT and service centres in West Midlands, are recruiting technicians, MOT testers and managers. There's a starting salary of £30,000 based on experience, and a minimum 5 years experience is necessary. For details, call Rashad at Eurofit Auto Centres on 01902 404045. That's Eurofit Auto Centres on 01902 404045.
Northern Gas Heating, celebrating 24 years of reliable heating and renewable energy solutions for your home. We have unbeatable offers on gas boilers, fully installed by our professional engineers. If your business or home is paying high electricity prices, call for a free Northern Gas Heating quote for cost-effective solar PV with battery storage. Visit northerngasheating.com or call 0800 083 1000.
Ramadan Kareem from Premier Tyres, suppliers of the tyres you can rely on for safe driving, as they're the only link between your vehicle and the road. And as well as leading tyre brands, Premier's your reliable go-to garage for servicing, spares, repairs and MOTs. Now available, Wolverhampton Taxi
546 and quote Ramadan 20 for 10% off. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Movie Base Electronics, specialist in car audio and home entertainment.
Khan Builders offer a full range of building services, from major rebuilds to small projects, home improvements, kitchen fitting, plastering, bathroom fitting, extensions, and much more. We pride ourselves on providing a professional, caring, and high-quality service and always meet our customers' needs. Contact Khan Builders today on 07813 950 265 for a free quotation from Khan Builders. We've all spent a lot of time at home lately, and it's time to notice those carpets really need replacing. Let's be honest, we don't want to go from shop to shop, do we? Well, Perfect Carpets can save you the time and bring perfection to your floor. Over 1,000 high-quality styles and colours. Carpets start from only £3 per square yard. Rugs from £30. There's free measurements and free quotation with exclusive trade discounts to landlords and builders. You can't get any more perfect. Make your home with Perfect Carpets, the Black Country's biggest carpet store. Call us today on 01902 428 833 or visit us at 21 to 25 Snow Hill, Wolverhampton, WV2 4AD, and quote Ramadan Radio for 5% off your next order.
Quick Build Construction Limited offer a full range of building services, from major rebuilds to small projects, home improvements, kitchen fitting, plastering, bathroom fitting, extensions and much more. We pride ourselves on providing a professional, caring and high-quality service and always meet our customers' needs. Contact Quick Build Construction today on 07813 950 265 for a free quotation from Quick Build Construction.
Do you have a family member that's passed away and you would like someone to assist you in legal advice? Kenneth Jones Solicitors has been providing legal services for businesses and individuals since 1986. We specialise in probate, Islamic wills and family law. We also offer services in conveyancing, immigration and personal injury. Contact us today on 01902 745 773 or visit us on our website at kenneth-jones.co.uk.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to Entrepreneur Chat with me, Manny Malik, and I'm joined here with Yusuf. Yusuf, how are you holding up? Are you?
Alhamdulillah, normally in a break, you could have a snack or whatever, but we just sat here twiddling
Just
our
sat
thumbs.
here in silence, looking at each other,
Yeah.
making sure we didn't say anything too uncouth while we're off air. But no, so we spoke before the break a little bit about Yusuf's background. He told us a little bit about ISO Sushi, the journey that he's been on with the business, and how he got there from early childhood. Now, what I wanted to do, it is the month of Ramadan. I wanted to just deviate a little bit away from the business side of things and just talk to you more about Ramadan, your faith. You obviously mentioned that you did your hifz. How important is your faith to you as a successful businessman? What does Ramadan mean to you as well? Talk to me a little bit about that, please.
Well, of course, faith is everything. It's the most important, and it's something that you should give your most time to. And you know what? Growing up, obviously, I did my hifz and things like that, and even like we've been talking about entrepreneurship and whatever, it plays a key factor in everything.
Mm-hmm.
So from the routines that you have daily, that goes back down to your faith, waking up early, Fajr, then, gym, staying strong, looking after your body, staying away from interest and all these kind of things. They play a major role. And with Ramadan as well, I think growing up, I used to go to Saudi every Ramadan.
Really?
Yeah. So my dad's been going for probably about 30 odd years.
Okay.
Every Ramadan without fail.
And what's that like?
innit?
Does it
It's
hit
a
different
vibe.
out there?
Yeah. And obviously, with doing hifz, obviously Quran, it's you have a different kind of love for the Quran, you know.
Yeah.
And growing up, I used to try and imitate different reciters and you know do different things. So like with going to Saudi every year, you get to listen to these beautiful reciters and things like that. So Quran plays a major role, and yeah, you know, Ramadan, it's one of them times as well where if you notice, like when we go to Tarawih together, yeah, it's just a vibe in it.
Yeah. The
Like,
community's
the
together.
community's together.
you're
The kids,
buzzing.
I bring my kids. They're messing about. Like yesterday, I took my son, and he was sat there. and He goes, "Oh, my friends are over there," and they were making loads of noise. His friends.
Yeah.
So I said, "Go on, go make noise with them. Go mess about, because it's nice. It's such a beautiful vibe." And then even that waking up for suhoor, the iftar, it's nice, man. It's really good.
The family time is unparalleled, isn't it? Because I think, especially as busy entrepreneurs, you end up eating food on the go. You don't sit down around the table as often, do you? So I think with Ramadan, you really get to appreciate those suhoors, those iftars, sat down
100%.
at the table with your family and kids, because it is a fixed time that you get to spend with them, isn't that right?
Definitely, yeah. It's something that you don't miss,
Yeah.
you know, because obviously day to day outside of Ramadan, you're so busy, you know, there's no such thing as going home and having dinner
No.
or having lunch or whatever else it is. It's always on the go. We're always in different places doing different things. But in Ramadan, it's one of them things where, because you want to sit down, you want to read your Quran, it's the month of, you know, what's the word, like,
It's like a spiritual reset.
yeah,
cleanse,
spiritual
isn't it?
reset, and it's a cleanse for the body, it's a cleanse for the mind, it's a cleanse for everything. So I wouldn't miss iftar at home regardless
Alhamdulillah.
throughout the month of Ramadan.
Okay, so you've mentioned obviously your family there. You mentioned you've got 2 young boys, I believe. Talk to me more about your family unit and how do they support you or inspire you or motivate you when it comes to being a businessman and being an entrepreneur?
I think it's, I wouldn't say just my immediate family, which is my wife and my 2 children. Obviously, I got siblings, brothers, sisters, who's got tons of kids as well. I think I got about 22 nephews and nieces in total.
Wow, mashallah.
So a big wider family. Obviously, I think my wife plays a major role. And the reason why I say that is because she gives me a free role in the sense that, you know, if I work 16, 17, 18 hours a day, I don't get questioned for, you know, why you're not at home, the kids need you, or this is needed, that's needed. And being in business, that plays a massive part.
Yeah.
So alhamdulillah, she plays a major role. And my children, obviously, you know, you just look at your kids and you think, I need to do what's best for them. I need to give them anything that I didn't have, although, you know, I had, alhamdulillah, a very good life. And with the way that the society is heading towards, you know, it's going to be harder and harder for our children and their children's children. So that as well, again, with the businessman, it plays in your mind that you're looking ahead, so many steps ahead.
Yes.
You know, a long way ahead. And then the reason why I said my exterior family as well, like my siblings and their kids, was because, you know, a lot of my siblings are very religious, mashallah, and their kids are also doing hifz and they're doing alimiya classes, you know, the girls and the boys. So they're really heading towards that Islamic path.
Okay.
So when I look at my kids and think, okay, what am I going to do for my kids? I also look towards my nephews and nieces.
Yes.
And I think, okay, I want to be able to do something for them as well. So what I'm trying to build is something way bigger than what it needs to be. Because I want to be that supportive person for, you know, a whole 20, 25, 30 people comfortably, inshallah. Because obviously, with them reaching out to just focusing towards the dini side of things and the Islamic side of things, that takes big character, you know.
Yes.
Not having that zeal to go to college and, you know, make money and all these kind of things. Just giving your time for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that's big.
Yes.
So I feel like maybe God has put me in a place where I can...
So you can financially fill that gap where it's needed. So enable them to follow in the path of Allah and
that's it.
Okay.
And I think that's where we're heading, inshallah.
And talk to me about your two boys. Are they keen to become businessmen like their dad? Do they want to go down the HIFS route? What's in store for them? Do they want to go to study? Have you talked about this with them?
So I have talked. So my eldest is 9,
Okay.
and my youngest is 7. So my eldest, I've taken him to work a few times. He's been in the kitchen. He's been brushing up and all kinds of stuff. He does random stuff. He's a very outgoing, very loud. Doesn't really like school too much.
Okay.
Even madrasa is like, he's got the brains. He's smart, but he's heading more towards where I'm heading.
Okay.
And I could see that. And he already says certain things, He's like, Dad, when can I come to work? Dad, when can I go gym?
Yeah.
And he asks questions. When's the next shop opening?
Okay.
Yeah, I want to see the shops, blah, blah, blah. Whereas the younger one, he just came to me last week, actually, and he goes, Dad, do you think I should just start HIFS class?
Really?
Yeah, he came to me last week. And I actually purposely didn't put him in.
Okay.
Because I wanted him to do a bit more Islamic studies. But I just found out recently that even the HIFS class do Islamic studies as well.
Yeah.
So he came to me with that. And he's more like, he likes to colour. He likes to read. He likes to write.
Yeah.
So he's heading more towards that way.
Okay.
And he's a mummy's boy as well. Whereas the elder one, surprisingly, he's more of a daddy's boy.
Okay. And you're happy to let them flourish in whatever direction you see them?
Whatever, yeah. Like my son likes to play, my elder one likes to play football, so I take him Sunday league, I take him training, I take him wherever he needs to go. And just let him do whatever, whatever makes them happy, let them try and do it. And if they're, if they're progressing it, they're progressing it. If they don't, they don't.
Okay.
It is what it is.
Alhamdulillah.
Dad will have them covered.
Yeah. Alhamdulillah. You know what? It sounds like you've got a very structured routine, structured life, and a plan in place for yourself and your wider family. And you mentioned, obviously, with your wife, she allows you to work long hours, difficult hours. Talk to me a little bit about some of those difficult moments that you've experienced as an entrepreneur. I know you gave me the analogy about you're in the deep end, you've got no choice but to swim. Are there any specific instances that you can share with us where you've really felt like it's you up against the world and you're almost drowning to the point where, you're kicking for dear life?
I think there's a few moments like that, a few times like that, where I remember once upon a time when financials was a bit tight. We opened a store in London, and obviously had to train the staff. Was
this once you'd taken over?
This was just pre. This was just pre. Because the reason why I mentioned this is because it kind of instilled into me that, look, you have to do whatever it takes, pre me taking over. So like when I did take over, it was like, can things really be that hard? So I remember we were opening a store in London, and because the finances were tight, we actually slept, me and the head chef, we slept in the store.
No way.
Yeah. And this was for a good couple of months,
Really?
Yeah. We put we had them cushion seats, them like booth seats.
Yeah.
Put the booth seats together. We used to sleep in the store. We took out a gym membership so that we could shower. Because obviously there's
Not to go gym, just to shower.
just to shower. Because the days were so long anyway, like it was hard. But yeah, so obviously there's them kind of battles, and then there's day to day you have different battles every day. It can be small things like, we've opened the shop and, the cooker doesn't come through the front door. There could be small things. And then there can be bigger things where, because we're such a niche market, staff have to be heavily trained and somebody could leave, whereas it takes like 5 to 6 weeks just to train a person, so there's different battles. Every day there's a different battle. And then finances are probably the biggest one, because we don't do no loans, no interest and things like that. You have to remember, for growth, you need cash, a lot of the times. But unless you're like us, where patience, things will come with time. And that's how we've played it. Like, we could have grown a lot faster, a lot earlier, but we took the halal route, and it takes a little bit longer, but alhamdulillah, we're heading in the right direction.
MashaAllah, no, that sounds really good. Okay, so let's flip that question on its head now, and let's talk about some of the real big successes that you've had. So you've talked about the difficult times. Where is one moment you've sat down and thought, you know what, alhamdulillah, I've been blessed here and I've achieved something that potentially I didn't even think I'd achieve when I first set out to take over ISO?
I think I'd like to say that it's the time when I signed my first franchisee.
Okay.
Because running a store, like we opened our own stores, a few of them, and that wasn't an issue, you know. I could do that like clockwork, like the back of my hand. But I couldn't get off the ground in franchising.
Okay.
And it was a real struggle, you know. We spent a lot of money in a lot of places, wasted a lot of money in advertising and marketing and trying different people. And it just wouldn't happen. And then when I got my first franchisee, it was like just a burden. You know, it's hard to explain.
Yeah, it's like a monkey off your back, isn't it? Where you've been trying to get this one movement, one thing moving, and all of a sudden now the wheels start turning, and you know that after that one,
that's it. Because you know that when it rains, it pours.
Yes.
You know, and alhamdulillah, that's probably what's happened now.
So how many franchises have you signed up now then? Where are we up to?
So currently, Walsall is a franchise. Stoke is a franchise. Stoke was the first one. We've got Manchester coming, inshallah. And we've sold 3 in Manchester.
MashaAllah.
So which is Cheadle, Salford and Cheetah Mill. So Cheadle will be starting first, inshallah. Should be opening mid next month.
Inshallah.
Hopefully. We've just sold Nottingham as well. And Nottingham's really eager. They want to open at the end of Ramadan.
Wow.
So he's taken on 1 location at the moment, but looking for a second in Sheffield.
Wow.
And we've signed up Bolton.
Okay.
Also, which is like
close to home,
close
isn't
to
it?
home, yeah. Bolton is also looking at Blackburn.
Wow.
So there's quite a few, and then we've got locally we've got Telford and Stafford,
MashaAllah.
which are also in the pipeline.
So double digits fairly soon, you reckon, in terms of?
Yeah, I'd like to say, inshallah, by the end of 2025, we should be on 10 or 11 stores.
Okay.
And then, you know, we've obviously, because we've got approximately about 7 or 8 signed up. So yeah, as soon as that first one dropped, it was like, but then now there's other pressures.
Okay, tell me about those other pressures.
So now, because we're opening so many stores, it's now we've got different stresses. So it's like, okay, now we need to factor in how we're going to build up all these stores.
Yep.
You know, when it comes down to the build work, when it comes to the design, when it comes to the distribution of the products, the innovation of products, you know, we got to have to, because it's not just our own stores now, we're looking at other people with the other people's businesses. The marketing, the innovation, all has to improve. And then we're going into warehousing as well. So we want to supply all the products to all the stores, make everything in-house, and make things easier for all the franchisees so that they can roll out a lot easier as well.
Fantastic.
So they're the next stresses we're looking to take on. But it's one of them things that you kind of have like little tick boxes. Once you hit one milestone, you tick it off. You go towards the next milestone, you tick it off. I think this kind of work ethic is not going to stop for quite some time.
Okay. And look, you mentioned work ethic there, and I know how important that is. But looking at your trajectory of growth, I'm assuming there's going to be a wider team that's going to be involved in this. How important is it to have a team, to learn how to delegate as an entrepreneur? Is that something that you've always naturally been good at? Is it something that you've had to learn? Tell me more about that.
It's definitely something that I had to learn because I always wanted to do things myself. Always wanted to do it myself, because it's like when I had them experiences where you get someone to do it and then you have to end up doing it yourself again.
So it's twice the amount of work, isn't it?
Yeah, it's twice the amount of work. But then I realized that to grow, you have to give it to other people to do. You have to delegate. And we have been building a team for quite some time now. And alhamdulillah, we've got a good team, still looking to grow further. And the way we do ours is that everybody gets rewarded, you know. So even in our head office team, people will own shares in different locations, just as a gesture of, you know, appreciation more than anything. And that's how we look to grow the model. A lot of people said that it doesn't make sense. A lot of people that I speak to in business said that doesn't make sense. But to me, it makes sense.
So you are putting more of that personal touch to the relationship as opposed to just looking at the numbers and saying, oh, you know, I shouldn't be giving up equity because, you know, it doesn't balance out. Actually, you're saying I want to reward people's loyalty and motivate and incentivize them to want to work harder and work closer with you.
Yeah, of course. And, you know, everybody, like, they don't just work for you, they work with you. You know, that's how I feel. We're a team. So if I'm eating, then everybody else should be eating as well. And I think because it's different to what other people are doing, I think it attracts more of the same-minded people towards you as well. So even like my franchisees that I've got up to now, alhamdulillah, they're all lovely.
Really?
Yeah, they're all really nice. And you know what? I might get some weird ones down the line, but at this moment in time, they're all really nice.
Okay. And just on that, how do you think they would speak about you? So obviously you've got a version of yourself that you see and that you project out to the world. What I want to ask you is, when people are working with you, so it might be your franchisees, it might be your suppliers, it might be your customers, how do you think they describe Yusuf Ahmed, the businessman?
Obviously I'm not perfect, but I think they describe me as someone who is very organized and regimented in what they do, very routine and very giving.
Okay.
That's what I'd like to say, because I'm always open to do anything for anyone,
Yeah.
regardless of how busy I am. So like I always say, you know, like even text message, you know, people don't reply for long periods of time. I don't think I've ever done that to anyone, no matter how busy I am.
You're very responsive. I'll give you that. And anytime I've called you, you've always answered or
I've
called me
you
back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's like,
Is that
obviously-
why is that? Let's probe that. Is that important as a businessman? Is that something that you think is important just as a human being?
I think it's just important as a human being.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you, because I don't think anybody is too busy to send you a response. Like if you are, like if I'm in the middle of a meeting, I've showed you, as I've messaged you saying I'm just in a meeting.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? That's all you have to do. Or if you're busy doing, like, I don't know, the wage run, right? Again, like your brother calls me quite often. Yeah. One of my closest best friends.
Yeah.
So he called me and he was like, oh, I need to speak to you about, I said, look, let me just finish what I'm doing and then I'll give you a call back. And that's important, you know?
100%. And the thing is, it's not the fact of being busy, it's the prioritization of letting that person know that, look, I've seen your call, I will get back to you. I think a lot of the time when people go days on end without getting back to someone, it's because they haven't prioritized that person.
Yeah, and I think,
you
you know what else worries me, is it that, you know, someone one day will say, oh, okay, you made it now. You changed.
Yeah,
you
big man now.
Yeah. I don't want to be that guy. I don't never want to be that guy. Someone looks and says you've changed.
So it's important for you to be humble and be the same guy.
100%, all the way. No matter how successful we become, inshallah, we're going to try and be as humble as possible and stay, you know, grounded.
Okay. And in terms of, look, we've already talked about the fact that you're up to 10, 12 franchisees now. What's the plan in 5 years' time for Yusuf Ahmed, plan for ISO Sushi? What do you envisage 5 years down the line where you'd be?
See, brutally honest, exit strategy. Okay. Now, it's like we should never fall in love with worldly things, right? We know that. So I would like to say the next 5 years, ISO heads towards 30, 40 stores. Inshallah. And then someone comes in and says, look, I will take the lot of you.
Here's a blank check.
That's my dream, inshallah.
And then what do you do, though? Because you are not the kind of person that I could see just chilling out all day.
No, like not just running off into the sunset. No. I think I'd give more time towards family, towards charity, move abroad for sure.
Yeah, which country?
Anywhere in the Middle East. Anywhere in the Middle East, or even Turkey.
Really?
You know, somewhere in that region, because it's good for the kids, good weather. You know, I love the sun.
Yes.
So somewhere in them areas, I've already started looking and preparing towards that. Because it's one of them things where you give yourself a little goal that is in the background, like, okay, you're supposed to be heading towards this. So if you maneuver off track, you come back on track again. But yeah, you know, 5 years time, I'd like to say semi-retired,
Okay.
because I would like to go into other things, but this thing would have to give way.
Okay. And for the listeners out there who may be young budding entrepreneurs looking up at you now, Yusuf, can you give me a piece of advice or some pieces of advice that people have given you that you hold on to this day? I know you mentioned about, just jumping into the deep end, getting it done. That was sort of from your brother. Are there any other influences through your time where you've had mentors who've given you a piece of advice that you'd pass on to other people and the younger generation looking to emulate some of the successes you've had?
I think there's a couple. One is keeping it halal, keeping your business halal. I think that plays a vital role, and it has done for me as well. Because then what happens is you can make deals with God. I don't know if you ever make deals with God.
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah, my brother taught me this as well, to be fair.
Okay.
He's like, you quit something, you say to them, look, I'm not going to do this anymore. You can do this for me. And you know what? It works. So keeping it halal, it's very important in business, especially for us as Muslims. And then I would say, I don't know, so I've been around so many different people saying so many different things. So it's hard to narrow it down, but
do you watch any of these inspirational Instagram or TikTok accounts? Because there's a lot of business entrepreneurs now, lots of podcasts.
I used to quite a lot, and now it's when your mind is working at 1,000,000 miles an hour, I tend to put them on in the night.
Okay.
Before I go to sleep. I want to listen to a podcast or listen to some inspirational talk, and my wife says that I last for about 30 seconds. I fall asleep.
You fall asleep.
Yeah, so it just plays it in the background. So I used to listen to it quite a lot.
Are there any specific people that you've looked at? There's like Patrick Bet-David, all of these guys that are on there. You've got the Andy Elliott. There's quite a few people online, especially. Are there any ones that you've ever looked at and thought, you know what, this guy's the real deal, and I could learn a few things off him?
Not really,
Yeah?
Not really. I used to listen to these Muslim brothers that used to do Freshly Grounded.
Yes.
I used to listen to them, and there was a guy called Sam. He was I think he owned a barbershop, chain of barbershops. I used to listen to them quite a lot before, and again, because they used to always talk about the Islamic way and blah de blah. Whereas the other guys, obviously, they can do anything and everything.
They're talking about mortgages, interest, all of that stuff.
And nowadays, you've seen TikTok. It's all about mortgages and interest and take this loan and do this and do that. So yeah, I used to listen to them guys, and they were quite inspirational. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, so it's better to look at a Muslim entrepreneur because ultimately they're going to hold themselves to the same standards.
Yeah, I think
they?
because then you get carried away, and then a lot of people, it's like get rich quick schemes now. Everybody wants to be a millionaire tomorrow.
Yes.
Whereas in the world of business, that's not how it works. It's hard graft grind for. Now I've been doing it on my own for the past 5-6 years.
Yeah.
Non-stop, and we're not even halfway there.
Yeah, there's no shortcuts to hard work, is there?
Yeah, there is no shortcuts whatsoever. And even if you look at the wider scale of things, you look at entrepreneurs and you look at them and you think, okay, when did this guy become a millionaire? When did this guy become a billionaire? They're all in their late 50s, 60s.
Mm-hmm.
There's no such thing as getting rich quick, and I think the quicker it comes, the quicker it goes also.
Yeah. So you want something sustainable, something that's been built with
Long
proper
term,
foundations. Yeah. Okay. And look, we've only got a few more minutes left, so we're going to wrap up soon. But let's go back to Yusuf Ahmed, the Muslim that's doing Ramadan. Eid. What are your plans for Eid with the family, with the boys? What do you tend to do? What are you looking forward to?
So Eid for me, it splits because Ramadan Eid, I normally go to my in-laws because my parents are in Umrah. And then the next Eid we do at my house with my parents. So it splits. And day before Eid, head up to London. Yeah, make sure you've obviously had a trim and got your nice clothes, nice everything. And then, Eid with the in-laws, with the kids, taking them to Eid Salah. and then just having loads of food.
Tell me about the food. What kind of food do you like to eat on Eid day?
So I like a big breakfast, first.
Full English?
A full English, yeah. But full English
Malik
with the
Butcher
masala
sausages,
beans.
though.
Malik Butcher sausages all day, every day.
Of course.
Twice on Sunday. But with the masala beans and, I don't know, like in Gujaratis, they do these puri things, they're like round.
Yeah, like
But they blow up.
Bhature, yeah. I
Yeah,
think I
but
know
they
what you're
blow
on
up.
about.
Like, so they're my favorite. And then having a nice nap after breakfast.
Solid nap. Yeah.
Solid nap. And then you hit the late lunch.
Do you ever do gym on Eid day? I do.
Yeah, but that's why you look the way you look. I don't.
He's being modest, by the way. He's got
but-
some biceps here.
Yeah, but no gym. No gym. Just chill.
Just chill. Okay,
Just chill.
All right, and then last thing now, just before we wrap up. So obviously we've got ISO Sushi in Wolverhampton. If I wanted to do my iftar at ISO Sushi, what would you recommend? What dish should we look out for? What should the viewers look out for?
I'd probably go with the biggest seller, the Katsu
Katsu
range. Yeah, so whatever in the Katsu range and the bao buns to start.
What about the Wagyu burger?
Yeah, the Wagyu burgers, obviously, there's quite a few.
Malik Butcher's Wagyu.
Malik Butcher's Wagyu, but the Malik Butcher's Wagyu bao.
Yeah?
Yeah, that's a great starter.
Okay, alhamdulillah. Well, look, Yusuf, thank you for all of the time that you've spent with us. Honestly, I've actually really enjoyed it now.
Jazakallah for having me.
Yeah, no worries. So even though I've known you for quite some time, a
And
lot
we're
of that
probably going to
stuff-
drive home together.
No, that was good. There's a lot of stuff that I learned. So hopefully that was useful and inspirational for many of you that will be listening. I'm going to continue on every Tuesday at 3 p.m. And I've got some special guests in the pipeline. I won't say who, primarily because they haven't fully agreed and committed to it yet. But one of them will definitely be my brother Adnan. But look, thank you so much for tuning in. Inshallah, I'll see you guys again next week. And it's Assalamu alaikum from me and Assalamu alaikum from...
Assalamu alaikum from me, Yusuf.
Eurofit